Welcome to Movies in the Making, everyone! If you would like to hear about how films were done behind the scenes, please like down below and subscribe to this channel for more videos, including what films you think should be talked about. In today's episode, we are going to be looking at the 1978 superhero action film Superman, based on the character we all know and love from DC Comics, released by Warner Bros. And directed by Richard Donner. Here, we will dive deep in the story of the production of this film. Although it was not the first superhero film ever made, let alone the very first DC Comics feature adaptation ever made. Remember Superman and the Mole Men? Lippert Pictures 1951? Of course not, because this film had so much more of a cultural impact and legacy. And that's why we're talking about it this episode. Now, sit back and enjoy the show. You are all in for a super duper ride. The making of Superman began when producer Elias Salkind, inspired by a billboard of Zorro in Paris, suggested the idea of bringing the DC Comics character to the big screen. His father and producing partner, Alexander Salkind, initially had little familiarity with the character, but was intrigued by Superman's global recognition. After gouging interest among their financial backers, Alex was convinced the project had potential. Despite skepticism from producing partner Pierre Spengler about whether audiences would believe in the flying effects, the Salkinds moved forward. They secured the rights from DC Comics through Warner Bros., navigating difficult contract negotiations before ultimately acquiring broad access to Superman's universe, including supporting characters and villains. Although Warner Bros. Owns DC Comics, they at the time had no interest in superhero films but were happy to let the Salkinds produce with Warner holding distribution rights. The Salkinds hired the Godfather author Mario Puzo to write an epic two-part screenplay, but the search for a director proved challenging. They approached many top filmmakers of the era, including Francis Ford Coppola, Steven Spielberg, and William Friedkin, but could not settle on one early. Spielberg, still finishing Jaws, Universal Pictures 1975, was nearly hired, but the timing did not work out. The first official director was Guy Hamilton, and the production was based in Rome until complications forced a move to England. Due to actor Marlon Brando's legal issues in Italy and Hamilton's tax status in the UK, Hamilton exited. With the project relocated to Pinewood Studios, Salkind, promoted by his wife, considered The Omen, 20th Century Studios' 1976, director Richard Donner, who impressed him with his cinematic energy. Donner was hired and he brought in Tom Mankiewicz to refine the script. Although other writers contributed significantly, Mankiewicz was credited as a creative consultant, with Puzo, Benson, and the Newmans receiving screenplay credits. Christopher Reeve was cast as Superman early in his career, following a steady rise through theater and television. After beginning his acting journey as a child and performing during his time at Cornell University, he enrolled in Juilliard, where he studied alongside Robin Williams. To help finance his education, Reeve took a role on the CBS soap opera Love of Life in 1974, portraying the morally ambiguous Ben Harper. Though popular with viewers, the demanding schedule conflicted with other acting opportunities. In 1976, Reeve was offered a major role on Broadway opposite Katharine Hepburn in A Matter of Gravity, but needed more time off than the soap contract allowed. With guidance from co-star John Aniston, Reeve chose to leave the show to pursue the play, recognizing its potential to boost his career. The gamble paid off. 2 years later, he landed the iconic role of Superman, becoming a cinematic legend. Before Christopher Reeve, a then mostly unknown actor, was cast as Superman, a wide range of well-known actors were considered for the role. These include action icons like Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Charles Bronson. Acclaimed actors such as Al Pacino, Dustin Hoffman, James Caan, and Robert Redford, and unconventional choices like music legend Elton John and boxing champion Muhammad Ali. The casting search became so desperate that one producer even gave his wife's dentist a screen test. Meanwhile, Paul Newman was offered a $4 million payday to play any one of the 3 lead roles but declined them all. Once cast, Reeve needed to physically transform into the Man of Steel and did so with the help of bodybuilder David Prowse, the actor who physically portrayed Darth Vader in the original Star Wars trilogy. In the 1970s, superhero training was not the norm, making Reeves' preparation both groundbreaking and demanding. Casting and production moved forward with major stars like Marlon Brando as Jor-El and Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor. Brando's eccentricity caused tension, particularly when he proposed voicing a non-human version of Jor-El, but Donner handled the situation calmly and redirected him. Brando ended up working only 2 weeks on the film, earning $3.7 million upfront and a share of the profits, eventually totaling around $19 million. Though Brando later sued the Salkinds, the matter was settled amicably. Brando was notoriously difficult to work with during the filming of Superman, insisting that he would not memorize his lines in order to preserve the authenticity of his performance. As a result, Donner had to have Brando's dialogue written on baby Kal-El's diaper so that he could read it during filming. In typical Brando fashion, he also made an offhand suggestion that Superman's iconic S symbol be reimagined as the Kryptonian family crest, an idea that was adopted into the film and eventually became established canon in wider Superman mythology, including the comics. Unlike the comic book Lex Luthor of the time, typically a bald, science-based villain wearing prison jumpsuits or battle armor, Hackman's Luthor was a charismatic, manipulative criminal mastermind with a wry sense of humor and a flashy, almost salesman-like charm. His portrayal balanced the campiness of earlier screen villains with genuine menace, offering audiences a Luthor who was both entertaining and threatening. Despite the popularity of Hackman's performance, DC Comics chose not to incorporate his version of the character into their books, with editors preferring to maintain their established portrayal. Even after a major reboot in 1986 recast Luthor as a ruthless businessman, the creators behind that change denied Hackman's Luthor as a direct influence. Christopher Lee, famous for his roles in horror films, turned down the part of General Zod due to tax-related reasons after moving to Hollywood, as the film was partially filmed in the UK. Superman was filmed across several key locations, with New York City standing in for the fictional metropolis. The lobby of the Daily Planet was filmed at 22 East 42nd Street, the actual headquarters of the New York Daily News. Other iconic Manhattan spots included the Grand Central Terminal and 9 West 57th Street, helping bring the bustling cityscape of Metropolis to life. Brooklyn Heights also featured in the shoot, and production in New York lasted 5 weeks, notably overlapping with the infamous 1977 New York City blackout. While Superman was filming in New York City, the infamous 1977 blackout struck, plunging the city into darkness for nearly 25 hours and triggering widespread looting and chaos. At the time, New York was already battling a fiscal crisis, rising crime, and the terror of the Son of Sam murders. Neighborhoods like Bushwick were overrun, with looters destroying businesses along entire blocks. The NYPD, weakened by budget cuts, struggled to respond and many areas were left unprotected. Amid the turmoil, the film crew stepped in, lending their generations of the New York Daily News, allowing the paper to continue publishing during the blackout. Journalists worked by candlelight and relied on out-of-state presses to get the news out. The blackout not only revealed the city's deep social and economic problems, but also shifted public perception, helping Ed Koch ride a wave of fear and frustration to win the mayoral race. Although the story begins in the American Midwest and ventures to Superman's home planet of Krypton, much of the film's Earth-based city scenes were captured in and around Manhattan. The choice to use real New York City locations grounded the superhero film in a familiar urban reality, adding authenticity to Superman's world. These locations became the visual backdrop for Clark Kent's transformation into Superman and his battle to stop Lex Luthor's catastrophic plan. The Fortress of Solitude scenes were among the most challenging parts of the production and marked the beginning of a serious tension between director Donner and producers Ilya and Alexander Salkind, along with Pierre Spengler. After wrapping up Brando's scenes in April 1977, the crew moved to Shepperton Studios and made to film the fortress interiors and complex fight scenes shared between Superman and its sequel. Donner, a known perfectionist, demanded numerous takes and adjustments, especially for scenes involving multiple actors on wires, like the depowering sequence in the Phantom Zone villains. The producers, focused on cost and schedule, were increasingly frustrated as the shoot fell behind. By late May, it was already 2 weeks delayed. With Donner clashing heavily with Spengler and the Salkinds withdrawing from set visits, production became fractured, forcing parallel shoots at Pinewood Studios while Reeve remained at Shepperton. The early screen tests for Superman's flight in the film were a major disappointment. Visually unconvincing and awkward, they left the producers unsure of how to fix the problem. It was not until Reeve began filming his first flight scene that the issue became clear. Reeve, who was an inexperienced glider pilot, instinctively used subtle body movements to mimic real aerodynamics, shifting his posture to suggest turning, banking, and momentum. His understanding of how a body moves through air brought a natural realism to the flying sequences, making them appear far more believable. In that moment, the producers realized that the key to selling Superman's flight was not just the special effects, it was Reeve's performance, which gave the illusion weight, intention, and grace. After his success with Jaws and Star Wars, 20th Century Studios, 1977, John Williams composed the iconic score for Superman, delivering a theme so powerful that Donner famously interrupted the first take by exclaiming, "Genius! Fantastic!" The Superman March combines three main elements, a bold march and a soaring love theme, that capture together Superman's strength, stability, and emotional depth. The fanfare's bold intervals suggest a mythic heroism, while the march conveys triumphant action, and the love theme adds warmth and doubles as a flight motif. Williams used unique harmonies and unresolved chords to build tension and release, making the music dramatic and memorable. His optimistic, dynamic score helped define the film's tone and remains one of the most enduring superhero themes in cinema. As of the 4th of July, 2025, Superman has a 93% critics rating on Rotten Tomatoes, an 82 out of 100 critics score on Metacritic, a 7.4 rating on IMDb, and a 3.7 rating on Letterboxd. The film's budget was $55 million, and it grossed about $300 million following its initial release date 15th December 1978. In 2017, the film was chosen by the American Library of Congress to be preserved for the National Film Registry as culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. And that wraps up our deep dive into the making of Superman. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to stay updated on all things movies in the making. Let us know in the comments what you think of Superman, or if you have any favorite moments for a film we did not touch upon, or what films you would like to hear covered by this channel. Also be sure to check out our community page, where we announce what films will be talked about by this channel each week. New posts arrive every Friday, or Saturday, if we forget to post on Friday. Thanks for watching, we'll see you all next time on Movies in the Making, where we'll be talking about Superman 2, Warner Bros. 1980, and more films to follow along the way. Tune in for more Movies in the Making with some incredible stories by cinema's most unforgettable films. This has been Jason Scotchmer, film enthusiast and passionate about the arts.